in the upper part. Look, meditate, pay attention to drawing it. Draw another circle. Was that a little slower? Okay. Lastly, one more shape. But I want you to go the opposite direction of the first two shapes and slowly draw a circle. Opposite direction. Okay. All right, I have to leave I have to look real fast. Okay. All right. I'm back. My friends, you will not understand Catholic social teaching from what I just saw.
Why not?
Everybody drew 3 separate circles. On the bottom half of the page, draw 3 circles meditatively that intertwine, intercircle. There's no wrong or right way, but draw 3 circles on the bottom of the page that intersect each other. Which one looks better for you? You see, if you're like me, you were raised to be an individual. When I used to help out here at the school, kindergartners had "I Am Special" was their book. Be an individual. Be who you are. Unfortunately, we've carried that into our adulthood because that was the first thing you came up with. I didn't say how to do the circles. You get the idea? So Catholic social teaching is all about connections. So for the rest of the time here, we're just going to be talking about, oh, where's my helper? Francine?
Yeah. Oh, I'm right here.
There's my helper. It's going to be talking about connections, and that's where we're starting. Here we go. Everybody needs paper. He's a helper. Go. Okay. All right. All right. As soon as you get the paper, everybody else looks at both sides. I knew it. What I would like you to do is have the side up that has the circle spiral graph. Okay, everybody got one yet? Okay, here we go. And unfortunately, I think because of the microphone, I'm going to do the reading instead of, I like to have other people read, but we got to reach our friends. So.
Yeah, they'll come up here if you want.
Okay, somebody want to read in?
We have your share.
Okay, I'm just going to do it for now. Okay, everybody got it? The earth and the poor are calling out to us. And some of us are responding to these signs of the times, hearing this calling individually and as groups with ideas and actions. And yet, sadly, much of this response still belongs to the mindset that has caused the imbalance. The belief that we are separate from the world, that the world or the poor is something out there, a problem we need to solve. Is that why you came to learn about Catholic social teaching? Because the world is all blanked up and I got to do something about it? My friends, the second paragraph, the world is not a problem to be solved. It's a living being to which we belong. The world is a part of our own self, and we are a part of its suffering wholeness. Until we go to the root of our image of separatedness, there can be no healing. And the deepest part of our separateness from creation lies in our forgetfulness of its sacred nature, which is also our own sacred nature. Only from the place of sacred wholeness and reverence can we begin the work of healing or bringing the world back into balance. Circle the word sacred. It's on that paragraph about 3 or 4 times. Circle the word sacred once. This is the only city I've ever lived in that has the name sacred. When the Spanish explorers came with the friars, they saw the river up a little north of here, and the friar named it Sacramento, sacred. And then through time, that became the Feather River. So they found another river. And there's the Sacramento River. And the city is the Sacramento. We are on sacred ground. You are the only people that live here, Elk Grove, sorry, that you carry the name, sacred. So that's how I teach Catholic social teaching. It's about what Pope Francis has said, contemplation, mysticism. I'm not going to give you a bunch of statistics. I don't have a slideshow to show you every evil in the world. So we're all sisters and brothers in this together. Did you get that? We're also sisters and brothers with all the oak trees and the eucalyptus trees and the lawn in the park. And we're sisters and brothers. Like when I took a walk around, I saw at least one homeless person. There's a big man on TV that used to be a reality host. He's your brother too, but I can't explain that one. But you get the idea, right? Okay, so that's the whole basis of why I came, just to tell you that. Should I just go? No, okay, I just want to hear it. All right. So now I want to show you just a little something that maybe this will help you. When I would meet with the pathways, the social justice, and whenever I try to teach this, we always talk about, oh, I just blanked out on the 3 steps of well, I blanked out. See, act, judge, see, act, judge, see, act, judge. You heard that, you heard that, you heard that? That's in the social justice world. See what's going on, judge it, see, judge, act. What's going on, act. Okay, I've changed that in my life, and I teach it because that's what you're going to read if you go to the bishop's website or somebody else gets up. But there's no contemplation in there. There's kind of, it's kind of like 3 circles separate. It's all one. So I still do the JPIC, Justice, Peace, and Integration for 2 provinces, which I've done for the last 12 years. I should just do 1 of Franciscans. And a provincial is the head of it. And since I've done it for 12 years, I have 2 bosses, 3 different ones on this time around. And each one I resign. And he says, no, you can't, not yet. So I'm still doing that, but I'm getting tired of it. Right? But this gives me life because maybe it's more like this graph here. Can you handle this graph? You'll find it in the book, which is a little later on. I put the title on the page somewhere from Joanna Macy and a man that she co-authored it with. It's the spiral of how we're going to really get things done. The first thing always is gratitude. And anything that's big or little, we got to start with gratitude. Did you say thank you to God this morning when you woke up? Did you say thank you to whoever you're living with for making you coffee? Did you say thank you for the people who set this up? Did you say thank you for your aches and pains? Oh, I know, my foot hurts right here. We got to start with gratitude. That's our spirituality. And you guys are still Franciscan because you have the name St. Francis. You're never going to lose it. Ray, I will soon make you an honorary Franciscan. If you stay for the whole time. Okay. But you start with gratitude. And then the next step is always honor the pain. There's pain in our world. There's pain in your family. There might be just pain in your own individual self that is a secret only to you. You honor it. You know it. What do you want to say? Be honest, be real. And then the spiral, if you really believe in this God energy, will take you to seeing with new eyes. See with new eyes. Every little step of the way. That's why every morning I take a walk. As soon as I get up, get my clothes on, I go for a walk. See with new eyes. Find something new. And then the spiral has us going forth. You like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So try to place that in your brain, which we don't use your brain, by the way, use your mind, because we all have the one mind. We're our collective mind. That's consciousness. It's Christ consciousness. That's what got us all down here together. Our brains can get us in trouble. Well, we're all here because in Christ. Okay. Flip the page if you wish. Pick one other person in the room to put your chair right up to theirs. If you don't like doing anything in public, just sit by yourself. But otherwise, put your chair right next to somebody. Quick, 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 quick. Quick, quick. Okay, and if you're on Zoom, you can you just gotta figure it out. I'll read the question together. But what I want you to do now is, you got just one partner? All right. Because of time, because Francine used all my time up and she did that long introduction. We're gonna do this like a minute at a time. So just pay attention. Let me whisper to your friend so you can hear my voice. And people on Zoom, I'm gonna read the question. So the person that's younger in the pair goes first. Okay, you can handle it. What's that? Zoom, you're going to be on a breakout room, one or two people. I don't know how that's going to happen. Okay. Something just happened on Zoom and all these people are now breaking out. Okay, the older person, who talks first? Younger person. Just answer this question, 1 minute. Go. When I see what's happening in the natural world, what breaks my heart is, tell your partner. One person talks only. Okay, I need to interrupt. I'm sorry. The same person, the younger person, would you answer the second question? When I see what's happening to human society, what breaks my heart is. The other person listens. Okay, I got to interrupt because this it's a timed exercise. The same younger person. What I do with these feelings is. What I do with these feelings is. Okay, I get to interrupt. Now we switch. The older person speaks, younger listens. First question for the older person, you got 1 minute. When I see what's happening to the natural world, what breaks my heart is.
Right.
I get to interrupt again. You guys are doing great. The older person speaks. When I see what's happening to human society, what breaks my heart is. Okay, I have to interrupt one more time. The older person, would you please share what I do with these feelings is. Okay, I get to interrupt one more time. Come on back to the room. This exercise is designed to be done peacefully. Maybe go sit on a bench with your partner, 2 minutes each, relax and all that. I'm sorry if you felt rushed, but that's the way it is, okay? My friends, you already know how to be contemplative, how to be mystical from what you just said. You know what's going on in the world, what little bit you know. And you are here because you want to respond. Open my eyes, God. Help me to see your face. Open my eyes, God. Help me to see. If I point at you, can you tell me who God is? What's the name for God when you heard that? And if you want to pass, pass. Dorothy, your name for God?
First thing that came to my mind was Allah.
Thank you.
Divine mystery.
Force, giant force. Ein Sof.
Open my ears, God. Help me to hear your voice. Open my ears, God. Help me to hear. Who's God to you? Name for God?
The Almighty. My Heavenly Father.
Do it. Ray? In your voice. All right. Open my heart up. Help me to love like you. Open my heart up. Help me to love. All right, so we all have different images of God. We have different names for God. When you sit and chat with God, I don't know how this God handles it all, but here we are. All right. So Catholic social teaching, I'm going to say again, it's about contemplation and being mystical. It isn't what you know. It isn't statistics. Make sense? Okay, I had some other things on this page. I don't know if it'll help you or not. All right. There's my great mathematical 1 + 1 = 2 and a bit. So this is called synergy. 2 or more parties working together bring results that could not have occurred if they had worked alone or in competition. Because something new and different emerges out of the interaction. And we can think of it as 1 + 1 = 2 and a bit. Or if you study quantum theology, the whole is more than the sum of the parts. I always heard that. This whole is sum of the parts. Okay, maybe I got it, but when I found this little mathematical thing, that helped me. Yeah. And it's all about interaction. All right. So we live in a country right now that's very polarized. It's probably always been, but for some reason it's really accentuated right now. We even elected a while back this game show host that polarized America from the rest of the world. And we saw the consequences of that. But how are you doing here at the parish or the church you go to? Did you wave goodbye to Father Des? Did you say, "Phew, glad he's gone"? Imagine what Ray has to dream about every night. Okay, but we gotta keep working together. It sounds corny, it sounds, I know. But this is what happens then. Something great can happen. That's what Pope Francis is calling us to. In fact, there's a quote on the right from Francis. If we approach nature and the environment without this openness to awe and wonder, if we no longer speak the language of fraternity and beauty in our relationship with the world, our attitude will be that of masters, consumers, ruthless exploiters, unable to set limits on their immediate needs. By contrast, if we feel intimately united with all that exists, the sobriety and care will well up spontaneously. He uses the word fraternity in his last encyclical, and that well, he picked the names of his 2 encyclicals from St. Francis of Assisi, right? So fraternity is a man word, but that's what friars are. That's fraternal. We live fraternally together. As you know, we live in community. So translate the word fraternity, what you need. We used to say community a lot, but I notice when I do reading now, try to keep updated, community is not the buzzword for church. It's interesting, but it works. And beauty is in the Franciscan spirituality is actually, if you can capture beauty, then you can get the rest of the whole living on the earth. Kind of starting with gratitude, start with beauty. All right, somehow Pope Francis decided to give up his Jesuit roots and just conquer the Franciscan way of life. So you guys can, I already said already, right? You can still be Franciscan. You don't need us crazy guys. Are you gonna give me some water? See, that's what it's about, my friends. It's about a cup of water for those who are thirsty. Is that how it goes in the Bible? Okay. And then I got one more thing here. I know we're gonna get to Catholic social teaching when I'm ready. I dreamed about this to liberate our imagination. And what I dreamed about was the painting that I knew was in Brunsman Hall. That screen is wedged in there and we couldn't move it. So you have to use your imagination. There's a painting under there, but the screen won't move. All right, we're right in the middle. Who's in the middle?
I should surface, my dear.
Okay, thank you. There's a Francis. Well, this was done about 5 years ago. Is the woman here that painted it? Oh, good. Okay, no, so, but there's no other humans in the painting. But my image was static. Is that how we are, St. Francis Parish? That painting on the wall, which hasn't changed. It hasn't changed one iota in 5 years. In fact, it's even, we're tired of it. We're covering it up with a screen. How about you? Do you just have static thinking? I get that way sometimes because I watch the news because I think I'm supposed to. It's like, ugh. And I look at, am I supposed to really change all my lifestyle? I can do this much or this much, but I ain't doing all that. So I get really static. All right, so I'm the guardian. I'm the head friar at the biggest friary in the province on the West Coast. All right, and I have to keep bringing to the guys, new. We're supposed to look at Laudato Si. And I got static people. overall. So anyway, if you know me, I hate living in an institution. I hate it. I'm now in the biggest one, but somehow I'm supposed to be in charge. And then a year and a half ago, our provincial, who has a sense of humor, said, I also want you to be the guardian at our retreat center in Malibu,
Oh,
the most exclusive zip code in the world. No wonder I want to go be static. Okay. But you get the idea of static thinking? No change. No change. All right. Somebody around here, because I just took a walk around the block. Somebody put up gates in front of the church. Okay, oh, I'll get a riot going. Oh my God. Were you here then? Or? I'm never going to St. Francis again. Why don't we work through some of this stuff? Which is part B. We use process thinking. Kind of think about like every moment is like a frame in a movie. Okay, first, this is how things are now. 2, the choices I make influence what happens next. Own it. I can make some choices and do it. 3, so what's my hope? And how can I be active in moving toward that? So that comes out of gratitude, out of beauty. So everything from this page is from the book I wrote. I typed in there, Active Hope by Joanna Macy and Chris. Except for I put the Francis graphic in there on my own. Oh my gosh. Are you guys getting tired like me?
No.
Time for a nap?
No.
No? Oh my gosh. My sister just turned 65 yesterday and you had to give her a greeting and I said, you are now entitled to 2 naps a day. Yeah, that morning nap. Oh, I love it. You know, about 11 o'clock, I'm reading all my heavy books, solving, telling Irish Friar how to live their life. Oh, I can take my nap. And then the afternoon, wow, about 4 o'clock. Oh my God, here comes another one. Anyway. 2 weeks ago, I just had my 70th birthday. Yay. You're as young as you feel. Oh, okay. Catholic social teaching. Oh, you don't have the paper. Here I am going to tell you all about it. The group handed you out a list of the Catholic social teaching. So okay. What are you giving now?
yes, I am.
Okay. So Catholic social teaching, the handout that the Pathways gave you when you signed in with the graphics. Traditionally, the US bishops and others have divided Catholic social teaching into 7 themes. And I believe, unless they change their mind after today's presentation, I believe the plan is to go through each theme at your workshops. Of course, I hope you look at the drawing you did and maybe you can massage that because it all overlaps.
Yes.
Okay, good. But I also gave you I found, which is on the page you just got, which I can't help you. I need mine. Art, he needs one. He's trying to direct the Zoom. Thank you. Okay. So people on Zoom, I will go through this. So what you will find, and this has come from the California Catholic Conference, which is the California bishops. They have broken it down into 4 principles. This is just for talking's sake, okay? There's not just 4 and there's not just 7 themes, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit and then I'll give you my 2 cents worth on a few of them. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, so now remember, this comes from the Catholic Conference. So it's written from the Catholic bishops and their office standpoint. But the number 1 principle is the dignity of the human person. And this is the number 1 principle in Catholic social teaching. Any book you read, I hope that's what they start with. Pope Francis is telling us that, and in a moment, I'll remind you that other popes have said this as well. The dignity of the human person. I'm going to read from the bishops. Human life is sacred. The dignity of the human person is the foundation of a moral vision of society. Without this principle, justice is not possible. This is not my definition of justice. I'll give that to you in a while. This is probably more about being fair. Every human being, from the moment of conception to natural death, is created in the image and likeness of God, is willed by God, irreplaceable and immeasurably valuable. Let's just stop there. Did you learn that when you were a kid? Every human being has equal dignity. How are you doing living that now? Okay, I'm going to keep reading. All morally good human actions, including political actions, affirm this truth. All intrinsically immoral actions violate this principle in some way or directly, such as abortion, racism, euthanasia, and others. Intrinsically evil acts are always and everywhere wrong. Therefore, in the first place, we must consider carefully how a piece of legislation or political candidate aims at defending and promoting human life and dignity. So the part I got this from the website is about entering into politics, right? Okay, I personally have never found, when I do justice peace work, just to get in big decisions about moral and immoral and hanging up people up to dry and these are the saints. It doesn't work for me, but I think you'll understand what this is getting at. All right. So dignity. Do you know when the first pope ever issued a formal letter about dignity? That's Catholic social teaching, by the way, popes, bishops' writings. Not sure? Good. It was 1944, Christmas Day. Pope Pius XII on the radio talked about human dignity and in the incarnation. Christmas Day, human dignity, image of God, get it? What was going on in 1944? Okay, so I think Pius XII, I don't know if he was a good guy or bad guy, because there's been books, there's documentaries of how did he relate to the Führer and the Nazis. He was in Rome. etc. I don't have the answers to that. But I'm just telling you that the whole Catholic world and whoever else was listening to the radio first heard about, oh, dignity is an important part of 1944. Hadn't we already had a few wars already? Okay. And then the next time from my little study that dignity is talked about is in Gaudium et Spes, which is December 1965. Where's that from? Vatican II. Okay, so what pope do you? Okay, is this picture still in the church?
Yes.
Oh, you didn't take that down yet. Okay, good. All right. So Gaudium et Spes is one of the documents associated with the Vatican Council, but John 23rd gets credit. So it's an extensive use of dignity as the foundational social theory. That's not that long ago, right?
No.
1965. So this Catholic social teaching is not 2,000 years old, so to speak. It is because it's right from the four Gospels, but trying to codify it and talk about it, have classes about it. All right. And then there was kind of a dignity in a few of the other popes' writings. But Francis comes along. And he has restored the whole concept of dignity. If you read about what he wrote about, it's based on dignity. And it's based on dignity that's reached through contemplation. And Francis is the first one to say there's dignity in creation. So I was real careful not to say that till now. People dignity we got. You get that pretty good? We know what it's supposed to be. But Pope Francis says it's also in all of creation. There's the dignity of creation. Get it? Okay. So you understand that everything's based on dignity? And you can do people dignity, that's cool, but now you got to also add always the creation part. In Laudato Si, Pope Francis's first encyclical that he wrote separate from Benedict. He and Benedict kind of wrapped up one. So I'm trying to be legalistic, but Francis wrote Laudato Si. And I was going to say something, I lost the whole thing. What did I say about that? Oh, because the whole thing boils down to cry of the earth, cry of the poor. So that is what I teach friars when I go to meetings and whatnot. I remind them that it's cry of the earth, cry of the poor. And if you're hearing it, like the opening reading, hearing the call of the earth, call of the poor, you got to change. Everybody here today, because you came here, you got to change. Do a little something when you walk out the door. And if you can make some big changes, try it. Try bringing that to a group of friars. We got to change our lifestyles. I spoke to every friar in the province of Santa Barbara. I had 2 meetings. They wanted me to talk Laudato Si, and I said at the end, we have to change how we pray together. We have to change how we do mass together. We have to change how we live together, our lifestyles, how we minister, because that's what Pope Francis wants us to do. They didn't invite me back. I had one friar come up to me who's younger than me. He said, I was quite interested, and you said, how do we change our prayer? I just went, do it. Yeah. That's what Pope Francis is calling us to. All right. All right, is that enough on dignity? I'm watching the time. Okay, let's talk about the common good. That's the second bullet point on that big list I gave you. Okay. Wait a minute, I'll get my notes. No. Okay, I'm going to read from the paper. The common good is the goal of political action. It is the sum total of social conditions which allow people, either as groups or individuals, to reach their fulfillment more fully and more easily. That's from Gaudium et Spes. We talked about that, Vatican II. It must not be fashioned in a way that pits the good of the majority against the good of the minority. Oh. Or the individual. It is a recognition that there are goods common to a whole community above and beyond my individual good, including the good of the most vulnerable. Hear the orphans plead, defend the widow. Okay, have you heard of common good before? When was the last time you heard a homily about common good? It's always pressures on if there's the homilist in the room. Because he's got to please everybody. But maybe you can help. So every time I look at a gospel reading, I look at what does it talk about dignity and common good? Yes, it does. It's always a social gospel. It's not a me gospel, not me and Jesus gospel. This gospel tomorrow, you should remember I like to bring gospel readings and we look at them when I teach. Yeah, you remember that? It's awful, this gospel, this Sunday coming tomorrow. It's like, oh my God, I can't make that work for here. So I skip. But listen tomorrow and say, wait a minute. Dignity? Am I hearing that in this message from Jesus? Common good? If you're like me, you come up with the majority is the good. Like the reading said, that's not the common good. And we in the United States, maybe we in California, we just think we got all the answers. And our standard is what we start with and pull everybody up to that. Or if there's a few millionaires, pull them back down to my standard. Forget it. That's not the common good. What's the common good for all these kids that go to school here? I don't know how many there are now. 225 used to be. What's the common good if you could tell all the parents? What's the common good? What's the common good for everybody that's going to be in this church this weekend? So a little bit of learning. I just found that there's maybe three theories of common good. One is the aggregative. I can't say that word. Aggregative, where you put things together. You aggregate. That's what you do. You aggregate. Well, what's the additive? It's a word.
Aggregation.
Okay. That's the first way we think of it. Whatever's the best for the most. Wonder at the parish, how does that work in the parish? Well, we got to get mass done because we got to have another mass. And if people can't hear, well, most of us can hear. Etc. Yeah, there's these homeless people that keep bumping around Sacramento. I don't know why they continue to keep staying in Midtown. But we're up here. And if they don't want to pull up, well, send them the loaves and fishes. Okay, and then there's a second kind of common good, which is procedural. It talks about the fairness of processes and conditions for participation. So there's a common good. Maybe a simple thing would be, a red light, green light keeps us flowing pretty much on the streets. Okay, there's a common good there, right? It's procedural. Many church people love to be procedural. I live with a couple friars. That's all it is to me. That the law, they tell me the law of the church, the law of the church, the law of church. And I want to say, maybe I do. Well, you pick the laws you like, and you bound all of us to that. But I know how you live. So knock it off. But we get caught in that. That's what church is about, procedural. I told this before, but when I was first here on the parish, I was in charge of sacraments for kids, besides other stuff. And a person told me, she's laughing. One of the moms told me after 10 years, she says, "You've really loosened up." Because the first year I was all of the rules. And I had the pastor and the other priest in the parish and all telling me all the rules. And I was sticking by those rules. And by the end, I don't care. If you just show up for one class with your parents, baptize them. I don't care. Get it? So I mean, that's why I'm not doing that anymore. But you understand? Is that your common good? The third one is unitive. Ooh, I like that word, unitive, where we forge collective identities and experiences. That's what we're talking about in this whole time together. It's the three circles you drew on the bottom of the page. So the common good is an equal. I guess, if you tried to live your life according to the common good, that would probably be 100% enough to do. All right. Related to the common good is justice. So class, what's Mark's definition of justice? Remember from 3 years ago? Oh, come on, please. It's not about fairness. All right. So when a policeman is very violent with a minority person, even to death, we want justice.
Right.
That means what? Maybe we can get him locked up, or maybe we can get the cop to even just spend the rest of his life in jail. That's not justice. What's justice?
Not have it happen in the first place.
Okay, because justice is right relationships. And remember, I teach, I've word a verb, making relationships right. That's what justice is. I don't do that perfectly. That's what justice is, making relationships right. That just comes from the Old Testament and then the New Testament. But even when you're reading church stuff like we just did, it might just more get into the fairness justice. But it's about making relationships right. So if a policeman violates the rights or even kills another person, do families sit down together, repair the relationships? There was a parishioner here that I don't know if she was here when I first got here, Helen Hansen.
Yes.
Her son was murdered. And she decided to visit the man that murdered her son, and they had a relationship for the rest of her life. Really? And she was like, not this big dynamo, bowl them over individual. Make the relationship right. Oh, and then I guess I have to tell you that it starts with your family. Oh, man. Starts with who you work with, or your neighbor. Starts with the people at church. And it's going to be pretty tough to do the way our political system is set up. I understand. All right. You know, Newsom's running for president. I got that figured out. But 2 weeks ago, we had farm workers walk through California. They marched through California to get some equal rights, to get Newsom to sign a bill. They landed up at the state capitol. What happened? How can we make those relationships right so that everybody is pleased? Make them right. We got a long way to go. And I know it's hard to do. Okay. And if we're looking at the common good, people say you put justice with charity. Charity is doing loving things. That's caritas, right? You got those two together, the common good will pop up. Boom. Pope John the 23rd was the first Pope, Catholic social teaching, to try to define the common good. So we only been working on it since 1965. So you're not going to find one great definition, one that fits all. All right. John Paul II. Boy, he was Pope a long time. They're never going to elect a 55-year-old guy again. But he personalized for people that we have to live in communion with others. What I really appreciated about him was that he was one of the only world leaders that really stood up for peace. Maybe we don't agree with everything he did or whatever, and you got to know his history and where the world was at and where the church was at. How about our friend Benedict? Well, in terms of common good, when you read his writings, most of it is talks about internal life of the church and being a Christian. Okay, that's okay. But Benedict's, both John Paul II and Benedict's writings for me are very hard to read. It's kind of like college course. So they focus on faith, reason. That's how they try to figure it out. And remember, those are letters that went out to the whole world. Well, Francis takes a kind of a different approach, if that's the right word. Talks about social dialogue, friendship, social friendship. He says, Francis says, you talk about common good, it grows out of the option for the poor and for the earth. For all nations, all people. So he wrote his encyclical because it's not written, dear Catholics, it's to the whole world. Even at the end, he has prayers. One's a Christian prayer, and then he has a prayer he wrote that's for any name for God. Okay. Option for the poor. That's one of the 7 themes of Catholic social teaching. I lived in this friary for God knows why. I was a guardian here too twice. But we had a friar who was younger than I, who swore there is no preferential option for the poor. Preferential option for the poor is one of the 7 themes of Catholic teaching. He says, I don't have a preference for that. Wait a minute, that's a holy friar. How about you? Poor come first? Oh my gosh. So I got stuck. I got invited to come down here. I live in Santa Barbara and I wanted to come a day early. Found a place to stay. I had to pay some money to stay there. Well, do I live in guilt the whole time I'm visiting? But the option for the poor, that's priority. It's always going to be a challenge here at St. Francis. Especially because of the homeless that live around here. It's not going to go away. I don't know if it's worse or whatever. But that's the easiest. What about the kids at school here that don't have enough money to have breakfast? Single parents. So the common good is very challenging. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So both Pope Benedict and Pope Francis, when they wrote, they put heavy emphasis on institutions, global institutions, and goods, the common good in a global. So our dear president was just at the UN this week, last week, right? Pleading that we don't have a nuclear war. Okay, it's hard to get it out of your purse when it's way in the bottom. Okay, so that's a reality right now. When President Trump was doing what he thought was being a president, he verbalized regarding Korea that it would be time to use nuclear weapons. So I got back into going to the Nevada test site in Nevada every year and doing protests where nuclear weapons are real. We got Putin saying, oh my God, my war, they didn't go my way. I can use a nuclear weapon. And did Joe Biden say, you do that, you're going to get one your way? Here we are Saturday morning in Brunsman Hall. Why didn't you ever call it after my name? Why did you call it Brunsman Hall? I always wonder that, right? Anyway. So Father Barry was a pastor, right? And he found some money. So they were called Brunsman Hall. And I was living like, hey, come on. I'll wait. Okay. Okay, I think I'll go real quick through the next two of these. Subsidiarity. Subsidiarity. This accomplishes justice by ensuring that decisions are made at the most immediate level of society. We don't operate this way. Even the church doesn't operate this way. Pope Francis is trying to. Did you guys have a synod thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sort of.
a sort of one. Anyway, he's trying to get it. Even the friars as a group, we still kind of top down. But higher levels of society should only aid lower levels when they are in a real need of intervention. Subsidiarity does not simply apply to different levels of government. The state cannot achieve the common good entirely through its own agencies. Period. That's why you have to be involved in politics. What's going on in the world? Back to this. A detriment to justice. This would undercut the competency and agency of people and authorities closest to a given decision. Therefore, to accomplish the common good, Government must empower the natural and free agency of the lower associations, especially the family. And there's a big long quote. So that's another one of the four principles, subsidiarity. You can see how that kind of overlaps. And then I'm going to jump to the last one, solidarity. Who coined this phrase in the Catholic world? Who? That's right, John Paul II. So remember he was Polish, and the communists were greatly affected his life. So what did they call the group that was against the communists?
Yeah.
What?
It was called solidarity.
Solidarity. So the Pope coined that for the world. How we can be in solidarity when there's injustice, working together. Solidarity is a commitment toward others in society that highlights in a particular way the intrinsic social nature of the human person. That's dignity. The equality of all in dignity and rights of the common path of individuals and peoples towards an ever more committed unity. We talked about that. Both a social principle and a moral virtue, solidarity is characterized as a deep commitment to the common good in every individual, an affirmation of the unity we share as God's children. Therefore, candidates and legislation must aim at building solidarity among the whole people. All right. So remember now, when you read about all these things, you have to keep adding with creation. We've got to really switch our mindset. Yeah, it's about people, and that's good, but it's also about creation. Every iota. Oh my gosh. Catholic social teaching. What's a whole page I skipped here. Let me see what I wrote down. You want just a little trivia stuff? Just a little 5 minutes of trivia? Okay. A big change happened for us Catholics in 1968 and 1979 when the Latin American bishops got together and they promoted liberation theology. Many friars I live with and deal with still think, that's not the way to go. But that really helped change, because it broke us out of what's going on in Europe, the Vatican, Rome. All right, so that wasn't that long ago either. Say what?
I said that's when Joe was born.
Oh, okay. When your kid was born. All right. So you might hear about globalization. That, oh my God, you can go hold conferences on globalization. That means that we're like all one big world now. You've seen this shot from the space, remember the Earth?
Yeah.
Well, globalization can be good and can be bad. So when you're looking at this stuff, don't just say, oh, globalization, oh, that's bad. It's good. It's bad. Globalization allows us right now to talk to, how many people are on this Zoom call? Or they drop off? Eight. That's cool. You get it? That's globalization. Yeah. I have one of my friars living in Korea, and but on this my cell phone we can talk. But it's also caused tons of problems. All right. If you are raised around the time of this is Mark's theory, John Paul II, his pontificate and whatnot, and even in the writings, he doesn't talk a lot about group. It's called social sin, social illnesses. It's usually about the individual. I don't have time for that anymore. you're a good person. Look at what's going on in the social setting. Who was the first pope to talk about race in an encyclical or some writings? That's a hot topic nowadays, huh? Pope Francis, in his last encyclical, which was 2 years ago or something. So maybe the church now has a new awareness and a new challenge. How do we deal with racism? And a lot of people tell me, well, I don't want to listen to the bishops anymore. We don't even need to listen to the Pope or all that, because there was a clerical sexual abuse. And that's never been addressed the way I want it addressed. Say that and everybody gets quiet. That's greatly affected the friars, you know. Are you going to be stuck like the painting on the wall? Okay. I don't know why God made me German. I guess, yes, that's my dad, but I'm watching the clock. All right. If you feel comfortable, flip the page over. There's a picture of a butterfly in the green. And there's a question at the bottom for you. We're just going to do in 2 minutes in silence. See the question at the bottom? 2 minutes in silence. Write if you want to write, or just enjoy yourself.
You just read it for the folks online.
I need to read the question to the Zoom, breaks the mood. Okay. Something that inspires me at the moment is. Something that inspires me at the moment is. Okay, my friends. It might be good that we empower our new pastor to be who he is, to bring his gifts to us. So if you're calm, collected, I want to stand up. Why don't we bless him, Ray? Good gracious God, we thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for the gift of church. You have asked Ray to come and be with us for the next many years. We ask you to bless him, to allow him to be himself, to allow him to be patient with each of us, to be our leader. We ask, Ray, that you will honor our dignity of each of us, and that you will challenge us to live Catholic social teaching. Amen. 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 Oh. All right. Thank you, Ray. Okay. I'm done. How do you end this? You have to come
A
up
prayer.
with a prayer?
We just had a prayer, but that was a blessing. How about give us a prayer?
Okay.
Oh, and Mark, just one sec, I'm sorry
Oh.
to interrupt, but there's one announcement that one of the wonderful people who joined us today wanted to let you know, and there's some notices on the table, is the climate emergency. There's a climate justice festival on this Sunday from 11 to 2 at McClatchy Park. And if you're interested, right on. And if you are really interested, Carol, raise your hand. You can ask her about it, okay?
All right, good. Okay, also, I'm going to end it, but I forgot to say that if you want to look at Laudato Si and come up with an action plan, I have a staff person that can help and see me, or we have a whole web page and all that for how a parish can slowly look at living out Laudato Si, if that would help you. I'm not sure what the diocese is doing and whatnot, but somebody can get to me about that. I forgot that. And lastly, I had a whole section on immigration. That's dear to my heart. We didn't get to that. So don't pretend it doesn't exist.
Okay, I just
Okay.
want to say something.
Oh, wait, somebody else say something.
No, you stay here. Stay
I
here.
am, you're on camera.
I want to thank Mark for coming all the way from Santa Barbara and sharing his wisdom with us. With me today. And that's what I have hope for, is Catholic social teachings, but my faith and people like you. So thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you. Open my eyes, God. Help me to see your face. Open my eyes, God. Help me to see. Open my ears. Open my ears, God, to hear God's voice. Help me to hear your voice. Open my ears, God. Help me to hear. Open my heart. Open my heart, God, to love like you. Help me to love like you. Open my heart, God. Help me to love. Amen. Peace.
Evaluation.
On the desk, on your way out. Thank you.